Having to spend your nights awake and your days asleep is not made for everyone. This hasn't been a problem for me as a kid since I never managed to fall asleep at night and ended up sleeping during class. I lost count of how many times I woke up to my teacher shouting my name and my classmates staring at me. When I turned 16, I had to start thinking about what career I wanted to pursue. Because I usually am wide awake at night, I figured I could become a security guard who works the night shift. I look intimidating as I am tall and often go to the gym, so my sole appearance would tell people not to try and mess with me. Although, in fact, I'm not as tough and strong as I look. That being said, it appears my experience in the field has led me to quite a unique job opportunity. My boss approached me and asked if I was interested in guarding a hospital for 3 days. He mentioned the job would pay exceptionally well compared to my previous jobs, as it requires experience and a trustworthy person. The opportunity of working in a hospital has not yet been offered to me during my time working here, and it seemed like quite the challenge. If I managed to fulfill the job as expected, it might also result in a salary increase. I accepted that offer wholeheartedly, as declining would be foolish. I remember my boss looking relieved upon hearing my response. Supposedly, he struggled to find any other security guards willing to take on the job. "You will start next week on Thursday. Make sure to be there before 10 p.m., he said, shaking my hand. I shook his hand with a huge smile on my face, ecstatic to get started. "You bet, sir." In the days leading up to the assignment, I guarded a few uneventful shifts at various places, such as a university and a McDonald's. I was happy, however, when the day of the unique opportunity arrived. Not wanting to be late, I drove to the hospital around 8 p.m. It's only a 30-minute ride, but you never know what might happen. I also figured getting to know the place wasn't such a bad idea. I mean, how am I supposed to guard a building I don't know the layout of? I didn't want to screw this up, as it pays me 3 times what I usually make. It was surprisingly busy on the road, which led me to arrive at the hospital around 8:40 p.m. I got out of my car and made my way to the front door. The building seemed medieval, as it was made from bricks and had this Romanesque charm. The building wasn't big, in fact, it's rather small. From the outside, it seemed the building has 3 floors with short hallways. I pushed the front door open and greeted the lady at the counter. Her smile radiated a welcoming, soothing feeling, easing me of any nerves in an instant. "Hello, I believe I was hired for the night shift at this hospital. I'm a bit early though. I was supposed to start at 10 p.m. "What's your name, darling?" she asked, maintaining her inviting smile. "I'm Jake," I replied confidently. She started typing on the PC in front of her, seemingly checking whether I was speaking the truth. "I mean, you never can be too sure. Some crazy people would pretend to be a night shift security guard." "Is your boss Michael?" "Yes, ma'am." "Alright, one of the other security guards will be here shortly to explain the procedures. Would you like a cup of coffee in the meantime?" "I would love a cup of coffee. Could it be black?" I asked with a grateful face. She chuckled and left to get me my coffee. A few minutes later, she returned with a cup of coffee. It tasted amazing, unlike I've tasted before. Everything seemed to fall right in line, because a security guard approached me right as I finished my coffee. The security guard looked at me with skeptical eyes, judging my appearance before saying, "You must be the security guard." I didn't expect someone so young to show up for the job, but that doesn't matter if you do as I say. I got out of my chair and held out my hand to shake his hand. "Nice to meet you, sir. I assume you will be showing me around?" I asked confidently. I was always taught that it's important to look confident even though you might not feel confident, as it leaves a positive impression on the people you work for. However, the security guard in front of me, 6'7" and quite the physique, made it difficult for me to not feel intimidated. "Follow me," he ordered. I followed him, and we made our way to the security room. He proceeded to show me how the cameras operate and gave me a tour around the building. He told me some basic security rules which I've heard too many times. "Oh, there's one last thing," he mentioned as he was leaving. "You see that paper on the desk? Read it. It contains a list of rules that you must follow. If you don't, we'll know. I hope you are professional enough to take them seriously and follow them, no matter how bizarre they might seem. I looked at him dumbfounded, but swiftly regained my composure and assured him I would follow the rules. Good luck, kid, he said as he left the room. I watched him leave as the clock positioned above the door told me that it was 9:30 p.m., which meant I had 30 more minutes before my shift officially started. The paper stated a total of 7 rules. Rule 1, your shift will begin at 10 p.m. Make sure that you are inside the security room by that time. From 10:15 p.m. until 11 p.m., you are required to patrol the building to ensure that no individuals are present. If you encounter anyone, kindly ask them to leave. Rule 2, somewhere between 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., a young woman could appear knocking on the front door asking to see her husband. Ignore her completely and pretend she isn't there until she goes away. Rule 3, ensure that the lights inside the intensive care unit remain on throughout your shift. If they happen to turn off, make your way over there and turn them back on. If you hear screaming while the lights are off, run towards the nearest bathroom and stay there until the screaming stops. Then proceed to turn the lights on. Rule 4, if there's a little girl with a teddy bear in the cafeteria, sit next to her and don't say a word. If she looks at you, walk back to the security room. If she speaks to you, talk back until she leaves. Rule 5, around 1 a.m., go to the general ward and check on the patients. If one seems to be sitting on their bed, ask them if they are okay and do whatever they request. If they strike a conversation besides this, ignore it. Rule 6, if it starts raining, open the front door and let people in for shelter. Make sure everyone you let inside leaves the building. If someone seems to be missing, you will see them on the security cameras. Do not look at them. Rule 7, if the security cameras were to turn off anytime throughout the night, hide and pray for your life they won't find you. I put the paper back down on the desk and leaned back in the chair. I laughed at the sheer bizarreness of the situation. I must be getting pranked, I thought to myself, though deep down, I did not believe it was a prank. This was in fact a hospital and it seemed unlikely my boss would go to such lengths for a joke. Perhaps this was his way of seeing how much he could trust me to see if I would follow such foolish rules. I reread the rules once again to make sure I understood them. I sure as hell was going to show my boss that he can count on me. The clock struck 10 p.m. and I turned my attention to the security cameras. With not much happening on the security cameras and only having 15 minutes until I was supposed to patrol, I felt my attention slowly falling towards my phone. The best way to waste your time. Spending time looking at memes and stupid internet news sure does go by quickly. It felt like I barely had spent time on my phone, yet it was already 10:15 p.m. I left my cozy chair, stretched my legs, and made my way out of the security room. I figured that starting at the highest floor and descending my way down would be the best course of action, so I made my way to the highest floor. Thankfully there was an elevator, so I did not have to bother using the stairs. I made my way up the highest floor and started checking all the rooms, hallways, and even the bathrooms. As I expected, nothing special happened. The thing about working the night shift as a security guard is mostly that someone must be at the location in case something happens. However, this does not mean anything will happen, making it a boring, easy way to earn money. On top of that, I get to grab coffee and snacks whenever I want. No one seemed to be on the 3rd floor, so I decided to descend to the 2nd floor of the building. After patrolling the 2nd floor, I reached the conclusion I had set for myself beforehand, nothing special. I grabbed my phone to check the time and see if I needed to hurry. It was 10:32 p.m. when I finished the 2nd floor, giving me enough time to explore the 1st floor. It did strike me as weird, however, that there was literally no one in the hospital. I expected a hospital to always have doctors and patients in the building, as that's the entire point of a hospital. However, every room I checked so far has been empty. If my boss was indeed trying to test me, he did not go all in on the preparations. Despite that, I proceeded to the 1st floor, which contained the intensive care unit, security room, front door, and cafeteria. I planned to pass through the ICU and main hall area first, so I could finish off with the cafeteria and get myself a snack. As I made my way through the ICU, I was caught by surprise when I noticed an old man, around 70 years old, standing in one of the rooms. Wonderstruck for a bit, I recalled rule number 1, if you encounter anyone, kindly ask them to leave. Suddenly, everything fell into place. I realized that my boss had likely hired an actor and allowed him inside the building to test my adherence to the rules. With a sigh, I made my way toward the man. "Excuse me, sir. You are not supposed to be here at this time. I would like to kindly ask you to leave," I firmly asserted to the old man. The old man looked at me without saying a word, appearing confused by what I had told him. "Sir, I would kindly like to ask you to leave," I repeated. He nodded his head in agreement and followed me out of the building. "Have a good night, sir," I told him as he walked away. Right before he completely vanished into the darkness, the old man unexpectedly spoke, "Be careful of the surgeon." What did he mean by that? I quickly realized my boss must have told him to say that to scare me, so I quickly disregarded it. I continued my patrol around the floor. No one else seemed to be on the first floor, so I grabbed another cup of coffee and a muffin from the cafeteria. As it was 10:53 p.m., I made my way back to the security room. Once inside, I leaned back in my chair and played some games on my phone, confident no one was in the building and I had nothing to worry about. After playing games on my phone for a while and finally checking the time, I was surprised to see it was nearly 12 in the morning. I had spent over an hour playing games on my phone. I shifted my attention to the security cameras, scanning for any anomalies. My heart skipped a beat as I noticed the lights of the ICU were switched off. I cursed at myself for not paying attention, as I had no idea how long the lights had been switched off, and the rule stated to turn them on as soon as possible. I got out of the security room to turn on the lights. As I walked towards the ICU, I froze in my steps. The sound of people screaming was deafening. I was baffled by the situation, unsure if my boss would have gone this far just to see how far I would follow the rules. The agony in the screams was noticeable and raised my anxiety. That's when I heard a door open and shut, followed by footsteps making their way towards my location. Without hesitation, I bolted to the bathroom on the first floor and locked myself in one of the toilets. I tried to gather my composure and make sense of the situation I found myself in. I couldn't seem to understand how it was possible for anyone to even be in the building. Their screams of agony felt so realistic that it left no room to think this was staged by my boss. Those screams were real. Before I could fully reclaim my composure, the bathroom door swung open, and the same footsteps I heard before walked inside. I tried to stay as silent as possible, not knowing if the person had a weapon. For a second the silence was deafening, until the person started whispering a song to himself. "Welcome to the hospital, welcome to the hospital. You can come, but you can't go. Welcome to the hospital, welcome to the hospital," he murmured as he knocked on the doors of every bathroom stall. I jumped when he knocked on mine, the sound noticeably louder than with the others. Through the gap beneath the door, I could see his feet on the other side, completely motionless. "Is anyone there?" he said with a deranged tone. "Open up, don't be shy," he continued. My heart pounded in my chest as I held on to the silence. I remained frozen, praying he would soon leave me alone so I could get the hell out of here. The man persisted, knocking on the door as attempt to gain any reaction out of me. "Come on, Jake, I need your help with something," he cried out desperately. I felt my blood turn cold at the sound of him mentioning my name, unsure as to how he could have known it. I stayed still and did not make a sound. After a couple of minutes, he gave up and walked out of the bathroom. Right before he left, one more sentence left his mouth. "See you soon, Jake." I did not leave the bathroom for another 10 minutes until the screaming had finally stopped. I unlocked the bathroom stall I was in and slowly opened the door that led towards the main hall, making sure no one was in sight. I exited the bathroom and slowly made my way to the ICU to turn the lights back on. Right after I turned the lights on, I ran towards the security room, as it suddenly felt like the only safe place in the building. As I let myself fall into the cozy chair, I looked at the time displayed on my phone, which indicated 12:51 a.m. Still full of adrenaline of what had just happened, I quickly reread all the rules to see if I had acted the way I was supposed to. Thankfully, that was the case. As I got to Rule 5, I was given a lovely reminder to check up on the patients around 1 a.m. and fulfill any wishes they had. Though I was not too sure if I was ready for another endeavor, I was more afraid of what might happen if I don't oblige to the rules. Despite during my patrol, I did not see anyone in the patient rooms, so how could there be anyone? I made my way up the stairs, this time reluctant to use the elevator, feeling like it might stop working. Besides, it's only one floor, so I might as well use the stairs. As I stepped on the second floor, my heartbeat started increasing slightly as I did not know what to expect. As I made my way to the patients, I started to hear excessive coughing from one of the rooms. I decided to go past the rooms one by one to make sure I did not skip any of them. As I peered into the first room, hoping to see nothing except an empty room, I was disappointed. In the bed laid an old woman, apparently sleeping. She had 2 tubes inside her nostrils and a needle in her arm. This is when I realized I hate the sight of people in these conditions. In every room were patients who seemed either extremely sick or extremely wounded. While making my way throughout the hallway, the coughing sound became louder as I slowly made my way towards the source. Of course, it was in the last room. In case it was that maniac in the bathroom from before, I'd have to run the farthest. All the other patients were sleeping. As I made my way to the last and final room, I took a deep breath before walking in. Despite my nervousness, I stepped into the doorway and looked at the man. The man was sitting on the bed, elbow in front of his mouth and coughing like he had been the past few minutes. When he noticed me, he tried to speak. "Water," he muttered, trying to stop his coughing. For a second, I was caught off guard. This guy seemed to be an actual patient. I even felt pity for him. I couldn't imagine what it'd be like for him. I quickly ran down to the cafeteria to grab a cup of water and brought it to him. As he saw me standing in the doorway, his hand signaled me to come closer and hand him the cup of water. I walked towards him and handed it to him. He drank it so fast I figured he had beaten a world record. He collapsed on his bed and thankfully stopped coughing. "Thank you," he exclaimed. "No problem, man. You seemed like you needed it," I replied. After a minute of sitting in the silence with the man, I figured it was time for me to leave the room as I did what he asked. Besides, he didn't seem to be much of a chatter, he was just happy to have had his water. As I made my way to the door and wanted to grab the handle, he spoke. "Where are you going? Come sit with me, my friend." A chill went down my spine as I heard him speak. His entire tone changed from before and he sounded serious. I slowly turned my head back to him, realizing I had no choice but to do what he asked. I sat down next to him on the bed. "What's up?" I tried to say confidently, but failing in doing so. "I'm not going to hurt you, son. I appreciate you helping me. You see, the surgeon stuffed cinnamon down my throat, which led me to be unable to breathe. I wanted to tell you to be careful because he's still wandering the building." "He stuffed cinnamon down your throat?" I asked in disbelief. That's when I remembered what the old man from before had said. "Be careful of the surgeon." "Yes, he did. I wanted to warn you. This seems to be your first time here. I figured you'd like to know there's a maniac inside the building. If you do what the rules say, kid, you'll be fine." I looked at him with fright. After taking a deep breath and standing up, I thanked him and made my way out the room. Thankfully, he did not ask me to come back. I made my way to the security room. My pace increased when I heard something falling on the 3rd floor. In no multiverse would I have gone upstairs to check what was going on there. If I followed the rules, I'd be fine. I grabbed the door handle of the security room and closed it as soon as I was inside. A wave of relief crashed over me as I once again felt safe. When I looked at the clock above the door, it indicated the time was 1:53 a.m. I sat down in the chair and once again read the sheet of paper. Thankfully, there were no more rules stating me to go outside the security room. I prayed to God the rest of the night would be as boring as all my previous jobs had been. I felt relieved knowing my shift ended at 6 a.m., which meant I only had 4 hours left to go. I could tell the events that occurred this eventful night had taken a toll on my energy as I felt quite exhausted. While staring at the security cameras, I felt my eyelids slowly closing and my mind drifting away. I fell asleep in the chair, completely forgetting about where I even was to begin with. I woke up around 2:45 in the morning and gave my body and mind some time to function to reality as I had no clue where I was when I woke up. After a short while, I came back to my senses when I realized I was in the middle of a night shift. Awake, though still feeling the effects of waking up. I made my way to the cafeteria to grab myself a cup of coffee. I figured it'd help me stay awake for the rest of the night. I walked into the empty cafeteria and made my way to the coffee machine. I watched the coffee pour into my cup, entertained by the sight of it. As I turned around to go back to the security room, I jumped and spilled the coffee all over my suit. Although no one was in the cafeteria when I walked in, there now was a little girl sitting at one of the tables. Unsure of what the rules exactly said about this occurrence, I tried my best to remember the rules. My train of thought was interrupted once I noticed the little girl had turned around and was now staring at me. She had a small, white skirt and a pink t-shirt and blonde curly hair going just as far as her shoulders. In her hand she held a teddy bear with buttons as eyes, except one of the eyes was hanging on by a thread. She looked at me without any expression on her face, making me feel uncomfortable and uncertain as to what I should do. All I could remember from the rules is that I had to sit next to her. Though I was reluctant and not entirely sure, I felt like it was the safest course of action. In the end, it was only a little girl. I sat next to her, her eyes intently staring at mine. She did not say a word for a long time, and I felt extremely uncomfortable, unsure of when I could leave. That is when she started giggling, covering her mouth with one hand, while still holding her teddy bear with the other. "You forgot the rules," she said in a frightening and teasing tone. I looked at her confused, thinking I had remembered them correctly. She could see the panicked look in my eyes, enjoying the sight of it. "Want to play hide and seek?" she excitedly asked. "I'll count to 60 and then we will look for you." I did not bother to ask who we was. She looked at me like a kid looks at candy in a candy store. I ran to the security room, leaving my coffee next to the little girl. As I ran away, I could hear her counting. 1, 2, 3, forever with me you'll be. 4, 5, 6, in the darkness you'll cease to exist. I locked myself in the security room and quickly grabbed the rules. As I reread Rule 4, if there's a little girl with a teddy bear in the cafeteria, sit next to her and don't say a word. If she looks at you, walk back to the security room. If she speaks to you, talk back until she leaves. My throat turned dry as I realized my mistake. As I realized I had broken one of the rules, I remembered her mentioning hide and seek. That's when suddenly all the security cameras turned off. Rule 7, if the security cameras were to turn off anytime throughout the night, hide and pray for your life they won't find you. I completely lost it as I did not know what to expect nor where to hide. All I knew was that the security room was too obvious for me to stay in, as there's no way I could escape from here. Overtaken by adrenaline, it felt like my body was moving on its own. I reached for the front door and frantically tried to open it. The door didn't budge, no matter how hard I kicked. 52, 53, 54, 55, prepare to run for your life. The little girl sang from inside the cafeteria, despite feeling mentally overwhelmed, making me feel dizzy and close to passing out. My body had gotten a mind of its own. I ran up the stairs to the second floor, to the room of the patient I had given a cup of water. I opened the door to his room, only to see he was no longer there. That did not matter to me at that point, however, as I just wanted to find a proper hiding spot. By the time I was inside the room, I could already hear the little girl frantically laughing and singing as she had counted to 60. Unsure of how long I had left before she would be coming to this room, I decided I had to hide as soon as possible. I looked around the room for any suitable hiding spots, but there seemed to be none. The best option I seemed to have was to get inside the ceiling, as it was made from plates that could be pushed up. I stood on the bed to get closer to the ceiling and hopefully pull myself up. I accidentally kicked the photo from the nightstand next to the bed. The sound of it hitting the ground echoed throughout the entire building. I heard that. She screamed as I heard her running towards my location. Completely freaked out and realizing I had to be quick, I jumped as high as I could and held onto the ceiling, pulling myself up as fast as I could. I could tell the ceiling wasn't made for any person being on top of it, as every little move I made caused the ceiling to cave. Once I made it up above the ceiling, I blocked off the square hole and laid completely still, not wanting to make a sound or have the chance of the ceiling falling. I could hear the little girl enter the room excitedly, tiptoeing around. "I know you are in here, I heard you drop something," she said in a playful tone, enjoying every second of it. My heartbeat skyrocketed throughout the entirety of the situation, unsure whether she would find me or not. She poked into the ceiling with a broom, trying to figure out if I was there or not. Though I almost jumped once I felt the vibrations of the broom touching the ceiling, I managed to lay still and not make a sound. "I guess you're not here, then," she said disappointingly as she walked out of the room and continued to keep searching. I could feel the ceiling giving into my weight, which meant I had to find a different hiding spot. After a couple of minutes and making sure she was no longer nearby, I slowly descended back into the room, being as quiet as I could. I peered my head into the hallway to see if anyone was there, but no one was in sight. I made my way through the hallway with the smallest steps I could make, flinching at every sound I heard. I figured I should hide on the first floor since she had already checked the entire floor already. Though I did not know exactly where she was, I figured she would be upstairs. I slowly made my way downstairs, making sure no one was there. As I heard her shoes touching the floor above me, I knew I was safe to walk on the first floor for a while. This seemed to be a horrible conclusion because the moment I turned the corner, I could see the silhouette of a man standing near the ICU. I could see his face turn to me. I quickly jumped behind the wall, hoping he had not seen me. "What is a patient of mine doing out of his room so late?" the man asked. Realizing I did not have long before he would be here, I had two options. My first option was to go back upstairs and hope I would not encounter the girl and maybe find a hiding spot there. The second option was to run to the bathroom once again in hopes I'd be safe there. I didn't like either of those options, as I felt either of them would lead to me getting caught. Though I did not feel like I had the time to go back upstairs at all, I quickly ran towards the bathroom. Right before I wanted to enter the bathroom, I noticed the janitor's closet right underneath the stairs. Feeling like it's my best chance of survival, I opened the door and hid myself behind a container and a pile of trash bags. "Come on now, I need to inspect your organs," the man proclaimed as I heard him open the bathroom door. His voice sounded familiar, but at first, I did not seem to understand why. That was until he finished searching the bathroom. "You were smart enough to hide somewhere else this time. I'm impressed you are not as stupid as you look," he said as I realized who he was. The guy sounded exactly like the maniac I had encountered before. My blood froze to the fact that he knew where I was all along. He opened the janitor closet and looked around for a bit, but decided it was too small for someone to hide in, so he closed it soon after, leaving me in utter darkness, horrified to do anything. I stayed in there for the rest of the night, not getting out until I knew it was completely safe. I could hear a drill, followed by a man screaming in agony. The man, who I assumed was the surgeon, laughed maniacally. I grabbed my phone to see how long I had left until the nightmare was over. 5:45 in the morning. Only 15 minutes left until the staff of the hospital would come in for their daily shift. I just had to hold on for a little bit longer. I ended up falling asleep in the closet, feeling completely hopeless and defeated, exhausted from the night I had witnessed. I was woken up by a kind old man who seemed to be the janitor, who seemed surprised to see a security guard hiding behind his equipment. "Rough night?" he asked, though he knew the answer based on my expression. "It's over, you can come out now." I got back on my feet and walked back into the hallway. The hospital looks completely different during the day than it does at night. Instead of being unsettling, it seemed like a nice place. I thanked the janitor for his kindness and got the hell out of that place. I drove home and collapsed on my bed. I still could not comprehend what I had witnessed. It all felt like a fever dream. I told my boss I was sick and did not bother to answer his phone calls. After a week, I returned to my regular, uneventful shifts. Though the boredom might be horrible, I do not mind it at all. In the end, anything is better than having to spend the night in that hospital. Hi, my name is Samuel, but Sam is fine. I've been working for the last couple of months as a web developer, and recently I had a raise. This will allow me to move on from my parents' house, in which the situation is just unbearable. However, it was difficult to find a house or apartment which doesn't leave me drowned in debts. But suddenly, there was one that appeared like it was just for me. A big house, 2 floors, and a backyard for only $3,000. Yeah, this was a total fake or someone pulling a prank, but I gave it a try. I was expecting some dude answering the phone, giving the direction of the house in which we will meet, and then just find out it was a park or some shit, or maybe it was a scam to get robbed. A woman answered the phone. I will refer to her as Alex. I asked about the house I found on the webpage. She just gave me an address to go and talk about the house and said something about meeting me in person. I thought it was just a person selling her grandmother's house or whatever, that people get kinda special about a place. Anyways, we agreed to meet at 3 p.m. Obviously, I checked the direction on Google Maps and found out it was an office building. The next day I took a bus to her office. It took me about 15 minutes to get there. As soon as I arrived, the guard told me where her office was. She received me and asked if I wanted something to drink, which I refused. I sat across her desk, then she started asking questions about me, my work, family, and more. After a moment of silence, she said, "Look, Sam, you are a good kid, but this house is not made for a person like you. I suggest you save money and buy another house. What's the problem with this one?" I asked. "Well, it is what many people would call a problematic house. By law, I'm forced to tell you what happened there, but it will be better if I show you." Then she opened the drawer and took a big folder, put it on the desk and slid it too. I opened it. Inside were documented police reports. Murders, missing people, and drug bans were only the first 3 pages. Meanwhile, I read the file. She started talking. "The reason is so cheap, it's because I just want to get rid of the place. I hope to call the attention of some mobs to use the house for money laundering. I cannot sell the house to any company for demolishing or building. It happens to be an antique house, so the government forbade me to do that. I won't stop you from buying it. I lost too many years of my life with that problem. If you want it after looking at that folder, it's up to you." That really let me up with a bad feeling, but the idea of spending another year with my parents was the only thing I needed to make the decision, so I accepted. For the next 2 weeks, we did all the paperwork and agreed to meet at the house. Alex refused to let me in before I signed. She told me once I entered it was my problem. Finally, the day arrived. I met her at the house. She was sitting at the door drinking coffee from the store. "Well, Sam, here you have it." She extended me a folder. "Here are all the documents that state this is now your property and the keys." "Thank you," I replied. "Guess I just need to buy some furniture." About that, most of the previous owners didn't change the old ones, and they are still in good form. But if you don't like one, just throw the ones that aren't listed in the documents. She said goodbye and walked away, and I just rushed the door. But before I could stick the key in, she screamed to me, "And you should sign one document in the folder." The inside of the house was dirty. Years of collecting dust left it in a very bad state, but the furniture was good like Alex said. On the left side was the living room, with a large sofa and 2 single chairs around a table in front of the fireplace. Across was the dining table, a large 12-seat piece of wood with candlesticks. On the right side was the kitchen. It was big enough to have 10 people working on it. I sat down at one of the single chairs in the living room. It was covered with a piece of cloth. Then opened the folder and let the documents fall on the table. I quickly spotted the one she told me to sign. It was an old piece of paper, like the ones you see in the Western movies when the character has to sign a contract. I signed above the bottom line with my name on it. It was folded paper. I will transcript what I remember. "Greetings. If you are reading this, it is because you are the new owner of the property. I am sorry to tell you this is not a welcome letter to tell you about how great your life will be at this house. It is a guide to keep you alive in this place. This is a formality between the owners of this house if you decide to sell it after handing this paper to the next owner. There are some rules you need to follow. The consequences of breaking these rules are high, but I assure you that if you follow them, there is nothing to worry about. Rule number 1. The butler and the dog. This is more a presentation than a rule. In the living room, you should find a silver bell. Ringing it will call the butler of the house. Refer to him as Mr. Bach. He will do anything you ask, as long as it is related to house maintenance. He will not ask for any money for it. However, he might request an object every other month. Give it to him. Nothing bad will happen if you don't, but he will not attend your call again after that. On the other hand, the canine is a Saint Bernard. You may name it any name you want. Whisper and he will come to you. It is important to know that these 2 entities do not go along, and if I got to choose, I would go for the canine. Rule number 2. The guests. There is a chance that unexpected guests come to the house. You can open the door and talk to them. However, it is forbidden to bring them into the house. Just let pass the ones you expect to visit. If you break this rule, go out of the house and never return. Now it is under their power. Sometimes you might find them already inside the house. You can also engage in conversation with them. If you want to end the talk, or if they stare at you without blinking for more than a minute, call Mr. Bach and tell him that guests may leave the house. Let him handle it, and do not look. It can be gross. Rule number 3. The stairs. It takes 12 steps to get to the 2nd floor. Keep that number in mind. If you count 14, keep going normally until 20, and the 21st will be the second floor. However, if you did not reach it at that one, run. We have not to know the first person who can tell us what happens. If that catches you, it devours them. After 50 steps you will find the second floor. Keep running through the hall, and do not enter or look into the rooms. Jump at the end through the window. Rule number 4. The bathroom. It is in front of the main bedroom, on the second floor. The one on the first floor is safe. Knock on the door every time you want to enter the room. If a lady named Madeline answers, wait 5 minutes and then enter normally, but if any male voice answers, call Mr. Bach. If no one answers, you may enter. Check the water in the sink. If the color is normal, do what you need. If red, break the mirror and open a little cut in your hand, then put it under the stream until it is normal. If 1 minute passes and it is still red, go out and wait 1 hour to try again. If green, fill up the bathtub, immerse yourself completely and wait until it empties, then you might proceed. Rule number 5. The basement. If any of your belongings are lost, you will find them in the basement. Do not go alone and without any light source. Call the dog. Once there, you will find a great dark spot on one of the walls. Order the dog to search your item in the dark and wait for him. If any other dog comes out, kill it. If the canine does not come back in 5 minutes, go out of the basement and try again. The next day, do not worry about the dog. Rule number 6. The study room is the first door after the stairs on the second floor. Inside you will find a great library. Enjoy any book of your choice or use it as a workspace. If any of the books fall off the shelf on its own, take it and read it until it is closed by itself, then put it back on the shelf. Do not refuse to read neither. Take it away. Don't look despite what you hear or see. That will take it as an offense. Also, wear a watch with the current time and check if the one in there has the same time as yours. Do not leave if they do not match. Rule number 7. The backyard. After 5 p.m., there is no one in the backyard. There is nothing happening in the backyard. You did not hear anything coming from the backyard. Rule number 8. The main bedroom. This is the only safe place on the second floor. Do not be outside of this room from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. If you happen to be outside, I hope they do not find you. Sleep with the dog if that helps. Rule number 9. The house. As long as your expected guests are on the first floor, there will not be any danger at all. But get used to the fact they forget about the dog or the butler. And last but not least, do not leave the house for more than a month. Sincerely, Arthur V. December of 1809. I known these stories for some time, so I thought Alex did too, and she was trying to make fun of me. This made me laugh and kept me entertained for some minutes. Anyway, I decided to explore the second floor to see what was there. It was great to have a new house while going up. I took my phone and opened a chat with my best friend. We needed to throw a party. I was so distracted that it took me some seconds to notice I was supposed to reach the second floor some steps before. Then I felt it, the coldest breath at my nape. The walls started to rot, and I ran in panic. I could hear how that thing was coming for me, how it knew that each step was more difficult than the other. After a minute of going up, I finally reached the second floor and kept running. My first thought was to enter a room, so I stopped at the first one on the left. The door was open. Inside was a man tied to an electric chair. He asked for help, but suddenly the chair turned on and I ran away. Those screams were not from a human. I felt like the hall was longer than normal, but when I finally reached the window, I jumped through without thinking. For about 5 minutes I fell through a void where the sounds fade away. Then I landed on the couch on the first floor. In a panic attack, I took the keys and left the house and ran home. Now I'm in my room at my parents' house. I tried to call Alex. She didn't pick up. Guys, I don't know what to do. Hi again. I've been busy these days with work, and just today I got time to write again. I looked at some comments of the previous part and noticed that some of you think I am naive and should sell the house. Right now, I'm redacting this from the studio. I'll get to that later, but wanted to make sure that indeed I came back to the house. For you to be in perspective, I shall start by talking about a part of my personal life and why I decided to buy the house despite the red flags, and the reason I came back. My mother is a lovely person, so sweet that thanks to her, I learned that the best reward for acquiring a job and buying a new phone to replace the broken one is a cigarette burn in my shoulder. On the other hand, my dad has taught me a lot since having to fight with him every time he arrives drunk at the house has to teach you something. But my family wasn't always like this. I guess it was all normal before my brother's death, but now I can't remember much of that life. Now that I mention that, I didn't have the time for mourning his death since everything changed after that. I have to thank my best friend. It's thanks to him I got a job because he lent me one of his online courses accounts and also gave me his old laptop to start working, which is also the one where I wrote the story. I should invite him for a coffee one of these days. Clearly not here. Anyway, this is what happened. I ran to my parents' house. As soon as I arrived, I entered my room and locked the door. I couldn't breathe normally. That was a horrible experience. I thought of giving a call to my best friend and talking about what happened, and that's when I noticed something. Alex didn't make me sign an NDA or something to protect the information about the house. Who would believe me that my new house tried to kill me? So I used what I learned from the school therapist and wrote what happened, and I gotta admit it was helpful. After posting it, I gave it a thought about going back there since I had a month to decide. I didn't need to rush it. But a couple of days at my parents' house made me realize I prefer to live in a madhouse that is trying to kill me than living with two morons, because at least the first one would prevent me the suffering from the second one. So I packed my laptop and all the clothes I could fit into my backpack and traveled to the house. I think that every one of us stood in front of a place that gave us chills. That incertitude when we are walking in a dark alley or in front of a graveyard at late night hits different when the feeling comes from a, apparently, normal place. Have you ever thought that the cute granny of your neighborhood contains in her house the most horrible things in the city? However, I brought myself with some courage and walked to the door, inserted the key, and entered the house. I was hoping to find horrors in every corner of the rooms, but instead found again a dirty, lonely place. Everything was exactly from when I left, but anyway, I ran to the living room to see if the rules were gone. Luckily, the papers were still there, so I followed your pieces of advice and reread the rules to memorize them. That's when I found the silver bell on the center of the dining room table. I had a look before taking it, a simple bell with a dark wood handle and some details on the silver, but before I could ring it, someone knocked on the door. I went to the entrance and before opening it, I watched through the peephole. There were two cops, a man and a woman. I opened the door and both of them were surprised to see me. "Good morning. Are you the new owner?" asked the man. "Yes," I answered. "So, you should know all that happened inside these walls, kid," continued the woman. "The last owner should have told us about the acquisition of this property since we need to do an investigation about the record of the new buyer. Unluckily, we haven't been able to get in contact with her. Do you know anything about her?" "No." "Well, kid, we need to enter the house to check everything is in order." "Shit. Alex didn't tell me that the police were going to get involved, so these could be the incoming guests of rule number 2. But what if they were real cops? This could get me into trouble and I would get arrested for police obstruction." I was trying to think of something fast, but my heart skipped a beat when the man put his hand on my shoulder and moved me away. Shit, the rules didn't say they will try to break into it, but just to insist. My hand hit the door, ringing the bell in which resounded all the house with a ding. Out of nothing, a white glove blocked the way of the officer and pushed him back out of the house before he could put a foot into the house. "Good morning, officer," greeted calmly the man behind the glove. "With pleasure, I will let you in. You can provide me with the order which authorizes you to do so." This man that suddenly appeared was the same height as the officer. It looked like a man in his mid-40s, slim, brown, short-haired, blue eyes, and with signs of age on the face. Wearing a traditional tuxedo, black shiny shoes, and a chain hanging from his pocket with a fragrance that stuck in your memory. "Excuse me," shouted the officer. "Are you aware of what you just did?" "Indeed, I prevented a stranger from entering the property," answered the butler calmly. "We are officers, mister," interrupted the woman. "I am Mr. Bach, the butler, and besides, being two officers does not exempt from following the law. Have a good day." Immediately, the butler closed the door on the cop's face, and before I could say something he looked at me. "I am sorry, sir, but I must ensure that you are in fact the owner of the property and not a phony." "What?" "Allow me to see the document in which is stated what you said to those things." "Oh, sure, follow me, please." I led him to the living room, where I gave him that old document Alex gave me. He took it and, after putting on a monocle, read it from top to bottom. Then he felt the red seal on the top right corner and gave it back to me. "Welcome to the house, Master Samuel." "Thanks, I guess." You referred to the cops as things. A leopard can't change its spots, or a zebra can't change its stripes, right? Sure, you did the right thing calling me, but you shall learn how to be more persuasive with your undesired guests. Anyway, I will prepare the place for your comfort. I beg you to wait for me at the studio, please. I almost fainted when he pointed at the stairs. I know that thing is still there, waiting for me to make a mistake and catch me. I couldn't find a way to say to him, I don't want to go up. Or that I couldn't. My apologies, Master Samuel. I just recall that you do not know the place. Please, allow me to take you to the studio. He put his hand on my back and gave me a little push, making my feet move forward. I don't know why, but he gave me confidence, which vanished as soon as we were at the stairs. Mr. Bach requested me to go up. I obliged. I closed my eyes and started to count every step. 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 11, 12. I almost fell trying to go up on an extra step. I opened my eyes and saw the second floor, a large hall with 2 doors on the left side and 1 on the right. The path was set upon a dark red carpet. Mr. Bach opened the first door on the left and made me enter. The walls in the studio were covered with books. Also, there are some tables with instruments and a single couch in which you could sit and read for hours. Welcome to the studio, where you could do any task you desire. At your service is the large library to enlarge your knowledge or satisfy your curiosity. Yes, I guess. Mr. Bach turned around and left the room. Despite what happened the last time I was here, the studio made me forget it for a second. The feeling of being here is calm. I took my laptop and put it on the desk to start working. Minutes later, Mr. Bach came with a cup of coffee. Not gonna lie, this has been the best coffee I ever drank. He said it came from a Colombian town. I think that was the only moment I did so much work. Being in a quiet room really makes you more proficient. Then I faced one of the particularities of the studio when the clock of the room showed it was 4:30 but my watch showed 4:15. I followed the rule and stayed inside until both clocks matched at 4:45 p.m. I decided to go downstairs for something to eat. Mr. Bach cleaned all the house and I gotta admit it looked neat. While I was about to walk into the kitchen, trying to call Alex again, I heard a voice coming from the dining room. Excuse me, what kind of host are you? A husky voice said behind me. What? Yes, I have been here for more than a minute and nobody offered me a good wine to drink. When I turned around, I faced an elder lady dressed like an aristocrat. She was wearing this old wig with a ridiculous hairstyle, another undesired guest, and this time the bell was upstairs. I should stick it to my hand. Sir Arthur, you are clearly not what they told me. Excuse me, She interrupted me again and started talking about some kind of business this Arthur had with her family. I know Arthur was the author of the rules, and obviously a previous owner, but I had no idea what business he had with this woman. With no other options, I tried to persuade her, just like Mr. Bach suggested. Madam, I think we would be more comfortable talking about business in the studio, wouldn't we? Yes, Arthur, you are right. Follow me, please. I was walking in front of her. I wasn't going to make the mistake of letting her push me downstairs if that thing came up again. We reached the second floor at 12 steps again and entered the studio. I quickly reached the bell on the desk and rang it. Mr. Bach entered the room after a couple of seconds. Is this your butler? Splendid. Bring me your best wine, requested the woman. Mr. Bach looked at her with disdain. Then he talked to me. Tell me, Master Samuel, what can I do for you? Guests may leave the house. Of course, answered he, then walked to the woman. Please, madam, follow me. What kind of disrespect is this, Arthur? Are not you aware? Before she could finish the sentence, Mr. Bach took her head with his glove and smashed it repeatedly in the bookshelf behind her. A black and viscose substance splashed in all directions. Before I could look away, the butler smashed what was left of her head into the ground. My apologies, sir, said Mr. Bach in a strange, calmed voice. I will. You won't be safe here, boy, shouted it, losing all the humanity in its voice. This will never. Their screams were silenced by the butler's heel, who stepped multiple times, splashing even more the black substance. As I was saying, I will come back soon to clean. Sorry for the inconvenience. Mr. Bach left the room, dragging that thing's corpse. I threw up and went to the bathroom, where I almost forgot to knock. Luckily, it was safe to go. When I came back to the studio, all was clean and neat, like it never happened. I decided to continue working. Coding makes me forget about everything else, so I would make it easy. But my laptop was gone. Great, this house really waited for me to come back. This made me remember that there was a guardian dog, which is necessary on Rule 6. I put my fingers between my lips and whistle a little sound. I waited for about a minute or more but nothing came. When I was going to whistle louder, I heard some scratches at the door before it was opened. A giant dog entered the room and ran towards me. He put his front paws on my shoulders and licked my face. I almost fell to the ground due to his weight. The rule said I may give him a name, so I called him Brooke. After that, on the plate on his necklace appeared the name I gave him. We went to the first floor, walked through the kitchen, and reached the basement's door. It was hard to ignore the human silhouette in the backyard. I turned on my cell phone's flashlight, and we went downstairs. The basement was full of all kinds of stuff, shelves with boxes and tools, a workbench, and many pipes going around the walls. In the opposite corner of the stairs was a dark moss. The smell of that was disgusting. Almost threw up again. Brooke, can you bring my laptop? The dog looked at me, tilting its head to the right. I guess he was confused, like he didn't know what a laptop is. I described to him what it looked like, trying to make a rectangle with my hands. Without making any sound, he ran through the moss. I kept my eye on the watch, and when the minute was about to finish, a sound came from the moss. At first, I was relieved that Brooke found it out. You know laptops aren't cheap these days, but then I was horrified to see a husky coming out of the moss. The animal stood still, looking at me without making any sound, not even breathing. I quickly focused on the pipe, on the workbench, but when I started moving towards it, the dog barked. Easy, I said, putting my hands in front. You did well. It looked at me for an instant, doubting. I took the advantage to achieve some steps. It was then when the dog came towards me. Its snout broke into 4 parts, revealing a chain of dark and sharp teeth. Then, his paws twisted while some appendices rose from its chest, taking him up from the ground. That thing didn't produce any sound when it attacked me. Without any doubt, I took the pipe and hit it before that snout reached me. After getting hit, it mourned like a dog, but after seeing the guests, I rushed it before it could stand up again and hit it repeatedly. Every strike dragged him away from that dog mourn, making it sound like an old man barking. I stopped when it was more of a black mass than a creature. Then a sound came again from the moss. I was scared and prepared to run when Brooke came out of the moss with my laptop in his mouth. He ran at me, putting his paws again in my shoulder and waving his tail with happiness. I dropped the pipe and praised him, took my laptop from his mouth, and went upstairs. I searched in all the kitchen's drawers and shelves but found nothing. Not even that Colombian coffee Mr. Bach gave me, so I guess it went down to the list of things to keep in mind when he asked for something. I'm sorry, Brooke, but I couldn't find anything to give you. Tomorrow I will do grocery shopping and bring you something. The dog gave a sad look, then turned around and walked towards the backyard. I avoided following him with the sight. With my laptop, I went upstairs again, this time taking me 20 steps. This is what happened today. As I said before, I think the house waited for me and accumulated all that. Or maybe just bad luck. Anyway, I will see that tomorrow when I come again. Or that's what I thought because a book just fell off the shelf. Hey there, I'm Jason, I'm German, and I'm in the Army. 12th Motor Brigade. I know, interesting huh? I didn't think so, and things were interesting for a while, until yesterday. I'm here to tell you my 3-year experience at Site Omega. From driving a hellish patrol and inspecting trucks carrying suspicious cargo, to being put on guard duty at the base proper. So this mess all started when the Sarge came up to me and said, "Look Jace, you've done a lot for the regiment and I thank you, but I need to ask you a favor. I need you on night patrol duty." "What?" I began. Now, I wouldn't have asked you if we had someone else available, but Heinrich is on leave, Parl's recovering from injuries, and Fritz, well, let's not talk about him. You'll find instructions that I've written for you in the Hummer. See you tomorrow. With that, he walked off. The next night, I got into the Hummer and was just about to start when I suddenly remembered the note Sarge left for me. I got it out of the cup holder. Here's what it said. "Good evening, Jason. First off, I want to make one thing completely clear. This is not, by any means, a joke. You know I don't do jokes, and your life may very well depend on it. 1. Do not, under any circumstances, get out of the Hummer, ever, with the exception of number 5. 2. If the radio in the Hummer crackles to life, answer it, and if you hear anything other than my voice, shut it off. They are trying to locate you. 3. The patrol route is clearly marked with yellow signs. If you see any sign other than yellow, stop the Hummer and radio the base. We'll come and resolve the issue. 4. You'll most likely encounter an old man. Stop and ask him what he's doing. If he says he's lost, point him in the direction of the nearest town, which is 3 clicks due west of here. If he says anything else, floor it. Run him over if you need to. 5. If by any point you need to go to the washroom, do it in under 3 minutes, because that's the time it takes for them to find you. 6. If you encounter another Hummer during the patrol, hail them. If they respond, continue as usual. If not, stop the Hummer, shut off the engine, and pray to God that they didn't see you. 7. If you see anyone on the final third of the patrol, take the Glock 19 out of the glove compartment and shoot them no matter who they are. If you haven't shot within 2 minutes of seeing them, you're screwed. 8. If at any point your Hummer breaks down, radio the base immediately and someone will come pick you up. 9. The most important one. If you return to the base and see yourself waiting in your spot, contact security immediately and request that you be put in protective custody. The guards will understand and will tell you once they've dealt with the situation. Lastly, be careful out there. We've lost 2 soldiers out there already. Don't become the 3rd. Good luck, Sarge. Okay, so what did I just read? I thought to myself, never mind, just get on with it. So I started out on the patrol with the guards in the towers holding their hands in some sort of prayer, then waved me through. The first few hours was peaceful, with the yellow signs telling me which part of the patrol I was on, and I was at the 1/5 mark when the radio crackled to life and nearly made me hit my head on the roof. Number 2, if the radio in the Hummer crackles to life, answer it, and if you hear anything other than my voice, shut it off. They are trying to locate you. I almost lunged for the receiver and held it up to my ear. It was a woman weeping on the other end. I was paralyzed. I was trying to compose myself when the weeping turned into amused laughter. God fucking damn it. I slammed the receiver down so hard, I cracked the case and booked it the fuck out of there. I was petrified and I didn't snap out of it until the 1/3 mark, and that's when I noticed the signs were blue. Number 3, the patrol route is clearly marked with yellow signs. If you see any sign other than yellow, stop the Hummer and radio the base. We'll come and resolve the issue. I slammed on the brakes and immediately radioed the base. Command, come in, I said. I'm on patrol and I noticed the signs are blue. Roger that, Sarge said. Someone's on their way now. By the way, you seem on edge. Is anything wrong? He asked. Nope, I lied, not telling him what happened. Everything's as fine as it should be. Sarge said, okay then, someone's on their way. They will reach your location in 5 minutes. Hold tight. After what seemed like 2 decades, a Jeep pulled up and someone stepped out. He told me to cover my eyes and ears, then proceeded to do some stuff that would likely result in me being banned from Reddit if I described it. The next few miles were non-eventful except where I saw another Hummer in the road. Thankfully, when I hailed them, they responded, so there's rule number 6 out of the way for now. When I got to the final 1/3 of the patrol, I was on edge. I thought I heard screams from the woods, but I shrugged it off and kept on going. I had to slam on the brakes to avoid running over my wife. What the? I began to think when I remembered. Number 7, if you see anyone on the final 1/3 of the patrol, take the Glock 19 out of the glove compartment and shoot them no matter who they are. If you haven't shot within 2 minutes of seeing them, you're screwed. Fuck my life, I reached for the gun, but I couldn't do it. Her eyes were begging me not to, and I didn't want to, but I knew I had to, or else I'm dead. Tears rolling down my cheeks, I leaned out and pulled the trigger. God damn it, I yelled to no one in particular. I just drove on with the knowledge that I had killed my own wife. Now shit got serious. I was on approach to my spot when I saw him, or rather me. I was just standing there with a wide malicious smile on my face. Number 9, if you return to the base and see yourself waiting in your spot, contact security immediately and request that you be put in protective custody. The guards will understand and will tell you once they've dealt with the situation. So I called the guards and they asked me what was wrong, and I just pointed at me since I was shocked. The guards glanced from me to me and back again, nodded, and escorted me to a private cell. After about 3 hours, the guards returned and let me out of the cell. Now, that's my patrol story. I'll get to the mysterious cargo shipments when I get some beer and psychological help. See you soon. Hey guys, I'm back. So a couple of things happened in between my last post and this one. First, I can confirm that I did not shoot my wife during my patrol last night. Thank God, and that my post has changed. So the sergeant came up to me today and said, "Hey, Jason, I heard about last night, and I was impressed how you handled the situation. Most people wouldn't have made it back." "Thank you," I said. "Don't worry about it." He responded, "But I have a new job for you tonight. I need you to handle delivery security tonight." I said to him, "Okay, sir, I think I can handle it." "Excellent. Don't worry, Jason, Heinrich is back, and Carl has recovered, so they'll be joining you. You start at 1850 and finish at 5:15. Have a good one." "Good one? Yeah, right," I thought as I got ready for my shift. The delivery section of the base was big, 4 trucks could fit and there would still be room to spare. I saw Heinrich walk up to me. "Jason," he said. "Hey Heinrich," I responded. "How's the family?" "Good, but my son has a fever." "Ready to start, Jason?" he asked. "Yes, I am," I responded, "but where's Carl?" "He's at his post, but you need to hurry. Your shift starts in 5 minutes. I thanked him and then noticed a note pinned to a wall that said, "Delivery positions. Heinrich, rations, north entrance. Carl, medical supplies, northwest entrance. Jason, mechanical supplies, northeast entrance." So I need to head to the northeast entrance, I thought, as I walked towards my post. I was still thinking about last night when I bumped into a door. Mechanical supplies delivery position was etched in bold on a brass plate on the door. Here I am, I thought, then turned the doorknob. It was unlocked. The room was cooler than outside, had a lever on the back wall, and a console with screens on the left, and in the very center there was an item that made my blood run cold. It was a note with instructions on it. Cursing my bad fortune, I gingerly picked the note up. Here's what it said. Instructions. Hello guardsmen. This note is to prepare you for your following shift at this post. Please read these instructions carefully and follow them to a T or very unfortunate things will happen to you. 1. You only have mechanical supplies coming through here. If you see any truck marked otherwise, direct them to the appropriate entrance. 2. Our trucks have the base logo on the side of them, which is a white circle with the Omega symbol inside. If you see trucks without said logo, alert security. 3. Lock the door at all times. 4. Between 23:50 and 30, do not exit the room. No trucks should come through at this time, giving you no reason to go out. 5. Your squad mates have their own jobs to do, so if you hear knocking on your door and hear your squad mates asking you to open up, ignore them. 6. Howling from the woods is natural, screaming or crying is not. If you hear the latter, get the gun from the drawer and pray that the door holds. 7. If you see anyone at the entrance, use the intercom to direct them to the civilian entrance. If they have no face, pull the lever at the back of the wall, which will close the gates, and contact security. 8. If you're inspecting a truck and hear a music box playing, order the driver to open the back and shoot anything inside. Remember, you have machine parts and supplies. Nothing should be moving. 9. You will see a young woman in the room. She will give you useful items like extra magazines or spare batteries. Take what you need, but for the love of all things holy, don't say no. Ken, this almost never happens, but if you see a red truck coming off the road, immediately close the gates and pray you hear the truck skid off the road, or else the cleaning crew will need to use a mop on you. This is not a prank nor a joke, and we are not responsible for whatever happens if you decide not to listen. Sincerely, base security. Oh great, this again, I thought, while I pondered why I agreed to this. Well, too late to back out. It's 1849 and I need to start. Locking the door, I waved the first few trucks in. The first few hours were non-eventful, with only a handful of trucks going to the wrong place, but I redirected them to either Heinrich's or Carl's post. But then I noticed a truck that had no visible symbol. Number 2, our trucks have the base logo on the side of them, which is a white circle with the Omega symbol inside. If you see trucks without said logo, alert security. Come in, base security. I nearly yelled into the radio. There's a truck bearing no logo at the northeast entrance. Could you send someone to deal with the situation? Roger, someone is on their way, the voice responded. About 2 minutes later, a guy in body armor tapped on my window and told me to look away, then made some loud noises and then cursing broke out. When I turned around, the truck and the guy was gone. Confused, I continued on. It is now 23:50 and no trucks have come in, so I radioed Heinrich to ask how was stuff going along. Heinrich, come in Heinrich, I said. Oh, hello Jason. Heinrich's cheerful voice filled the room. Hi Heinrich, how are things going on your end? I asked. Oh, not much. Some drivers came from your gate, I believe. I could barely contain my laughter. Those dumbasses, I said. I got 3 of yours and 2 of Carl's. Speaking of, have you heard from Carl at all? No, I haven't, Heinrich said, but I'm sure he can handle himself. It was here that I was interrupted by the loudest scream I have ever heard. It sounded like depths of hell was opening up on the other side of the door. Jason, what's happening? Heinrich yelled out. I couldn't answer. Every regret in my life was running through my mind. And then, Zen. I'm fine, Heinrich. I looked at the time. 30, number 4, between 23:50 and 30, do not exit the room. No trucks should come through at this time, giving you no reason to go out. So that's what I thought as I waved the next truck through. I can't believe I just noticed, but Site Omega is whack. So I finished the last few trucks, luckily without the music box, and was about to wrap up when I saw something on the camera. It was a red truck. Oh, fuck. No, number 10, this almost never happens, but if you see a red truck coming off the road, immediately close the gates and pray you hear the truck skid off the road, or else the cleaning crew will need to use a mop on you. I dove for the lever and nearly pulled it out. The truck was just a mile away, but the gate was closing so slow, I prayed that my death would be swift. But at the last minute, I heard something swerve off the road and slam into the wall. Thank God. Heinrich, check in. Carl, come in. I said. Here, said Heinrich. Here, said Carl. Okay, I need a nap. I'll see you guys after I've found more beer than last time and more psychological help. See you soon. So I'm back and in the hospital for stab and gunshot wounds after what happened tonight. If you're getting confused, I don't blame you, so let's get started. So I was in my quarters recovering from my hellish patrol and nightmarish delivery guard duty when a note was passed under my door. Here's what it said. Attention, it has come to the knowledge of the high command that a known terrorist organization called Warrior Liberty Front, not to be confused with Washington Liberation Front, has been targeting military bases all over the country. As such, command has ordered all soldiers with 3 years of experience in the base to meet in the mess hall at 1735 so guard roles can be distributed. Sincerely, Head of Security. 3 years of experience. I guess that's me, I thought, still recovering from the past 2 days. When I got to my mess hall, I saw Heinrich, Carl, and some few others I didn't recognize. Hey, Heinrich, Carl, you see the Head of Security note? I asked them. Yeah, I saw it, but I don't know what post I'm going to be assigned to. I wonder what. Alright, you shitheads, the High Commander suddenly yelled out. I've put your roles up on the wall, now to your duties, unless you're too fucking stupid to even read. With that, he left and slammed the door shut. Still in shock, I said to Heinrich, well there's your answer, and went to view the paper. Guard posts, Hans, base perimeter, Fritz, Charles, Robert, and Carl, watchtowers, Heinrich, server rooms, Jason, archival room. Failure to appear at your post will result in severe reprimands. Welp, Heinrich, I'll see you tomorrow, I said to him before I walked off. Maybe I'll finally get some answers tonight. It took about 5 minutes to get down to the archival rooms, and I ran into Heinrich on the way there. Hey, where's the server rooms? He asked. Head down and take a left. My post is here, I said. The room was big, with 5 doors that read Security Room, National Archive, Technology Archive, Scientific Archive, and Medicine Archive. Why one base would need 4 archival rooms was beyond me. When I entered the security room, I found a monitor linked to camera systems, a Mossberg 500 shotgun, and a rack with 20 boxes of ammo, an earpiece, and, of course, a list of rules. Just my luck. Here's what they said. Archival room rules. If you're reading this, it means that you were picked for the archival room guard duty. Feel free to read any documents you wish since they were declassified decades ago. Please follow these rules to best carry out your job. 1. There will be a check-in every hour. Be sure to answer. 2. You need to patrol each room at least once, but if you hear growling coming from the other side of a room door, skip it and reinforce the door. Reinforcements can be found under the desk. 3. By now you would have heard of the WLF. Make sure to check the camera system every once in a while, since WLF operatives carry equipment that jams electronic devices. If you see a camera in any room turn static, barge right on in there and shoot anything that moves. 4. Between 23:40 and 1:30, only view the cameras in each room. If a camera goes static, don't worry, whatever's in there will get them. 5. If you hear someone knocking on your door, say 1 minute, and they'll leave you alone. 6. As stated before, read what you wish while on patrol, but please keep patrols no more than 10 minutes long. 7. You will see none of your fellow squad members while you're stationed here. If you see anyone while on patrol, immediately order them to identify themselves. If they don't, shoot them. 8. If you see a little girl in a red dress on any of the cameras, shut off the camera and reinforce the room door. 9. If you hear your earpiece broadcasting an unbelievably loud sound, take it off and crush it with your foot. You will not be reprimanded, but you won't be able to tell if WLF operatives are nearby. 10. If you hear laughter coming from any room, run to the security office and reinforce the office door. Do not remove the reinforcement until the end of your shift. Note, if you manage to capture a WLF operative, alert security and they'll come and take him or her away. You'll only be here one night, since extra personnel will arrive in the morning, but until then, stay safe. Sincerely, Security Chief. Okay, so I'll only be here for one night. I thought as I pondered my life choices, well, at least I'll finally get some answers here. I decided to head into the technology archive room first, since I had mechanical parts from my delivery guard duty and I'm a curious bastard. Well, no WLF fuckers have showed up yet, but I did learn lots of interesting things like the development of the Messerschmitt 262 Schwalbe and the Messerschmitt Me 264 America bombs to the whack, like the Heinkel He 162 Volksjager and the Horten H-18. I was about to move on when this came through the earpiece guardsman. This is the security chief. Report in. Jason here, nothing on my end. I responded, copy that, Jason. Be aware that we got reports of WLF operatives around the perimeter and a suspected sighting in the server room 1, so be alert. Yep, got it, I said. I then moved my way to National Archives when I heard a growl from the other side. Number 2, you need to patrol each room at least once, but if you hear growling coming from the other side of a room door, skip it and reinforce the door. So I booked it back to the security room, and sure enough, there was door barricades under the desk. I ran my ass towards National Archives, and as soon as I finished setting up the barricade, a huge thump rang out, and I was physically pushed back and landed on the floor. Thank God. After noping out of the National Archives, I checked the time, and it was 23:45, so I headed back to the office and watched the cameras, and there was static on the camera in the scientific archives. I wasn't worried. In fact, when I heard the growling, screaming, and frantic shooting, I couldn't help but smile as those WLF fuckheads met a hideous death. At 1:36, I grabbed my Mossberg 500 and headed to scientific archives to find any survivors, and to my disbelief, there was a female operative that survived. But after she both stabbed and shot me 2 times, I could believe it. If you manage to capture a WLF operative, alert security and they'll come and take him or her away. So I searched her and found a file named Swallow Song. I couldn't make anything of it, so I decided to give it to the security chief when I report in. Security chief, come in, I said. I have a female WLF fuckhead operative in my custody and I'm requesting pickup. Roger that, Jason, sending a team to your position. Good work by the way. So I took her to the security room, but we didn't talk much, but we stared daggers at each other until the security team came with the security chief and took the WLF fucktard away. I also told the security chief about the Swallow Song file. Okay, I'll look into it. But nice work tonight. I'll be sure to tell your sergeant about your performance tonight. I thanked him, and the rest of my shift was peaceful. Now I'm in the medical ward to recover. Wonder if Carl went through the same situation. See you soon. Hey guys, so I'm back from a busy night that was possibly related to Operation Swallow Song. So once again, the Sarge came up to me and said, hey, there's the guy I wanted to see. I said to him, hey, Sarge, did you get anything from the WLF fuckhead I captured yesterday? No, she committed uninstall life before we could question her, but we're currently debunking theories on what Swallow Song is. I said to him, is it related to the Me 262 Schwalbe? Possibly, but let's not jump to conclusions yet. There's still a high security risk at the moment, so I need you to guard the reactor chambers. I'm sorry, the reactor chambers, I asked in disbelief. Relax, you'll get special equipment when you get there. I'll see you tomorrow. What? No, I said to organize. I heard him yell as he walked away. Luckily, I'm 2 days from retiring, I thought as I made my way down to the fucking reactor chambers that shouldn't exist, by the way. When I got down there was a heavy blast door that had a note on it. Caution, the security room is the only safe place from radiation outside of this area. The security room is beyond this door. There will be an airlock attached to the room. Repeat, the chambers are extremely radioactive, and you will die if you aren't protected. Authorized personnel only. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, I thought as the blast door automatically opened. The security room wasn't that big, just a monitor hooked up to cameras, a panel controlling the chamber doors, a tactical hazard suit, an M4 battle carbine in a case, a file of German nuclear history for some reason, a earpiece, and rules, of course. Reactor room rules. While it may seem like this post will be uneventful, trust me, that can change on a dime if allowed, and these reactors are 2 decades old, so you'd better follow these rules. 1. Do not leave this room without your suit, obviously. 2. Take the provided carbine when out on patrol to each of the chambers. There may be unexpected guests you may encounter. 3. The chamber doors are controlled by the buttons on the panel. 4. If any of the chamber doors open on its own, immediately close the door using the respective button and seal all the doors using the lever. 5. If WLF operatives are in the area, the cameras will show static, so go to the relevant chamber and deal with the situation. 6. When you are patrolling any of the chambers, if you see the door closing, immediately pull the override lever and haul ass to the security booth. 7. If you see a flashing red light on a camera in any chamber, shut off said camera and lock all the doors. It's not a meltdown. 8. If you hear crying or screaming coming from any chamber, lock that chamber's door. 9. All doors are marked with radioactive. If you find a door with biohazardous materials on it, skip that chamber. Radiation isn't the only thing inside. 10. We have 4 chambers marked 1 to 4. If you see a 5th door, ignore it and contact base security. 11. There are no workers that are working during your shift. If you see anyone, inform security immediately and lock yourself in the office, and for the love of God, don't talk to them. They are not human. 12. Be sure to check the spent reactor power rods in each chamber. The list of spent rods will be on a list somewhere in the room. If the number of spent rods are less than the number listed, simply remove a rod, as one will definitely be spent. If it's over the number, run. 13. The most important part. If you see shadows in any of the chambers, turn off the camera before they notice. If they so much as glanced at the camera, they've noticed. Note, if your suit is not at the specified location, contact the Special Engineer Corps and they'll resolve the issue. If you need more details, feel free to read all the papers in the file to be more educated. Do not disregard these rules, or radiation will be the least of your concerns. Sincerely, Special Security Ops. Thank God I have to put up with this shit for 2 more days, I thought, as I suited up before my shift. So as my cancer chances increase every hour, it was time for first round. Chamber 1 was first, and it was mostly uneventful, with all the reactor rods accounted for, with no extras. Chamber 2 was more eventful, with the doors automatically closing behind me. Number 6. When you are patrolling any of the chambers, if you see the door closing, immediately pull the override lever and haul ass to the security booth. I nearly lunged for the lever because I nearly forgot what to do. I pulled the lever and ran for it. After about 30 minutes, the camera in chamber 3 showed some static. Welp, time to take out the trash, I thought with a smile as I grabbed the carbine of the wreck. When I entered the chamber, I found 4 WLF fucktards trying to heist some spent reactor rods. Big mistake. I shot them without hesitation. Then I found something out about Operation Swallow's Song. A WLF fuckhead had another file on him. This one described what the Swallows are. The Swallows are high-tech super soldiers apparently, and they use ammunition made from spent uranium, which has immense penetrating power. The Swallows and the WLF are apparently a surviving Nazi group, and the plan on restoring Germany to Hitler's dream. After the special security operations came and cleaned up the mess, I heard crying coming from chamber 4 as I was preparing to enter. Number 8. If you hear crying or screaming coming from any chamber, lock that chamber's door. So I relocked that bitch and slid a conveniently placed metal bar across the door to deadbolt it. A second after, an animalistic scream and repeated slamming came from the door, and I was glad that the blast doors were built like tanks. After another half hour, I saw some more static, so I headed to the chamber. Nothing could have prepared me for what I found. It was 2 people in exosuits that were trying to steal some more spent rods. It's the swallows. Fuck. Thankfully, I will give you my all suddenly came through the speaker, and before I continue, I highly recommend that you listen to the song so you can get why I felt so epic at that time. The first one charged me using an extendable blade from its wrist, but missed and slammed into the wall. The second one shot at me with an LMG, and I shot back. Then the one with the blade again charged at me and nearly got me, but I dodged out of the way and made it hit the guy with the LMG, knocking them unconscious. Then I shot both of them in the head. By the time the special security operations arrived, my shift was over and I went to debrief to the head of security. I'll post again once I've confirmed I don't have cancer. See you soon. Hey, so I was assigned to a new squad tonight, and it got more intense than ever. So Sarge came up to me and said, "Okay, Jason, for your last 2 nights, I want you on the Omega Black Squad, our elite division. I don't know much, but they'll tell you more when you get there. Good luck." So I headed underground to the facility housing that Omega Black Squad, and once I was there, a gorgeous woman with green hair and eyes greeted me in the hall. "Hey there, Jason," she said a little too enthusiastically. "I'm Selena, and I need to give me this." "Okay, so where do I?" I was interrupted by Selena giving me a bone-crushing hug. "Selena, what are you doing?" "Sorry, but you're really handsome, and I've never seen a new person in, like, 2 years. Also, head to the break room. That's a map I gave you. See you soon," she said as she walked off. Good God, I thought as I headed to the break room. When I got there, I didn't see anyone, but there was a Chris Vector machine gun, an earpiece, and rules which I could tell were written by Selena. Initiation instructions. "Hello, Jason. As per usual standards, all new members must undergo an initiation in order to be formally acknowledged by Omega Black. If you tell anyone, we will deny all knowledge of you and any procedures performed. The job is easy, patrol the facility, and there will be people with you. These rules are to ensure your safety. 1. Start a patrol every 30 minutes. 2. I will be in the security office at all times. If you see me in the hall, like how I greeted you today, ignore it. 3. You will see a ghostly white man in a 2-piece suit with long arms. Do not show any signs of fear, and he will leave you alone. 4. If, for some reason, you need to enter the security room, say the code word, Alpha, and I will let you in. Otherwise, I will shoot you. 5. The 3 members that will be with you are Fritz, Charles, and Hans. We do not have a member with the name Kruger. If Kruger is spotted, run to the break room and lock the door. 6. There will be a skeleton crew of workers in the labs and on janitorial duty. You are encouraged to talk to the janitorial staff, but don't disrupt the lab workers. 7. If you're patrolling and you hear a female scream, haul ass to the break room and remain there for the rest of the night. 8. If you need to round a corner or enter a room, but you don't know what's waiting for you, ask me to check, since I can see you on the cameras. 9. You can trust the janitors. They'll provide you with advice and warnings. Just be respectful and don't knock down the wet floor signs. 10. You'll get a Chris Vector SMG, but never shoot anything that hasn't engaged you first. 11. If you hear the elevator stop on this floor, enter and make sure that no blood is in it. If there is, continue on your patrol, but say a prayer every 5 minutes. The type of prayer doesn't matter, but make sure you say it in a clear and understandable voice. Finally, if you ever feel the need to chat, I'm always open to conversation. Sincerely, Selena XO. "So, what do you say?" said a voice behind me. I nearly fell over. It was 3 heavily armored people with Chris Vectors as well. "Oh, okay, I'm ready," I said in response. "Great. Your round starts at 17:50. Don't be late," Fritz said. "Don't worry, I'll be with you. It's a 2-man job." So after around 20 minutes of waiting, Fritz and I started our first round. It was mostly uneventful, with Selena guiding us from the security room. The next round was more intense. The slender man in the 2-piece suit appeared in the hallway when I was minding my own business when I turned around and there he was. Number 3, you will see a ghostly white man in a 2-piece suit with long arms. Do not show any signs of fear and he will leave you alone. I was terrified. It had no face and no hands, but I was determined not to show it. After a long time, he simply vanished. Jason, can you hear me? Selena yelled into my earpiece. I saw the slender man on the camera. Are you okay? I'm good, I replied, except I may have wet my pants a little bit. Selena said, thank God. Fritz reported you missing 5 minutes ago. Head back to the break room. He's waiting. After I apologized to Fritz for delaying the check-in, I went back on patrol. I was getting curious, so I said to Selena, how long have you been on Omega Black? About 3 years, as I said. You're the most handsome person I've met, she said. Ahem. Fritz suddenly blurted out. Charles and Hans were bent double with laughter. If you two lovebirds are finished flirting with each other, then do your goddamn jobs. Oh, okay. You could practically hear the embarrassment in her voice. After trying to bleach the event from my memory, I finally got some answers. I found a file named Cerebral Cortex Interface System, which, to quote, allows the user to transfer his or her thoughts and memories onto a computer system, but the user will be dead. There was a sheet of paper attached to the file that said this, Interface System of the Cerebral Cortex. This classified document details the steps to transfer someone's conscious onto a computer system. Pros: disabled can be free, people near death can be saved, people transferred into the system can control the base systems as efficiently as a human brain, subject can talk to whoever was controlling it. Cons: subject dies after transfer, subject can't transfer between systems. Subject must be mentally stable, subject can be corrupted by computer viruses. Dear God, I thought, this can't be real, right? After about 2 hours, my shift was over and I debriefed. See you soon. System online. Location, Site Omega, the Black Forest, Germany. Date, July 21st, 2020. Time, 16:30. Begin transmission. Hello, I have changed. If you have questions, well, let's just say that I have no mortal boundaries anymore. After my last post, everything went wrong. I followed the rules, and yet, everything went wrong. Allow me to start from the beginning. It was the day after my last post, and I just had one more job left, which was to guard the test labs as part of my duty as a member of Omega Black. Now, what was in the labs? It's the Cerebral Cortex Interface System. When I entered the lab, a note written by Selena was on the security desk. Hello Jason, for your final night, we ask you to guard the testing labs. You just need to make sure that the WLF don't make it in. Just stay safe, and you can ask me out when you're done. Sincerely, Selena XO. After I read the note, I started my usual patrol route. 30 minutes had passed when I saw a WLF operative attempting to enter lab number 1. I dealt with him with minimal issues and went on as usual. Then at around 23:50, I felt a sharp pain in the base of my head, and then I passed out. Get your ass up, said a voice in front of me. I didn't capture you for you to just sleep around. Who the hell are? I began. Then I saw the WLF logo on his sleeve. Who I am is not important, he said. What is important is your information on the inner workings of the space. You killed 7 of my operatives. 7. That means you have many things stored in that head of yours, and I need them. I'm not telling you shit, I said, and I'm definitely not telling you what's in there. Hey Jason, what's going? Fritz suddenly appeared behind my captor. Fritz, shoot them, I yelled before I bolted away. I could hear Fritz shooting at my captor and his forces, but I didn't escape unharmed. A spray of bullets hit my side, and one punctured an artery. God damn it, I said through gritted teeth. Then suddenly, the slender man appeared in front of me. Luckily for me, I wasn't afraid of him, but the same couldn't be said for my pursuers. What the hell? One of them sputtered out. Shoot the damn thing, the other one said. As I ran away, I could hear them shooting and getting ripped to shreds behind me. Then, 2 more showed up in the hallway to the left. Over there, shoot him, a Swallow super soldier said. As I approached the Cerebral Cortex Interface System, a bullet hit me in the lung and I fell over. Damn, I swore. Now the interface system was the only thing that could save me now. As I prepared myself for the transfer, a voice ran out from the other side of the door. In there, get the fucking door open. I hurried with the preparations as the voice said, set the breaching charges. We need to get this door open. Then I pressed the button, then everything went black. I saw as the security forces dealt with the WLF. I saw as they found my body. I saw as Selena cried her eyes out. I saw as they buried me with the Iron Cross. Now I shall control these systems, and this base shall become great. For I am no longer Jason, I am Rasputin, the war machine. May God have mercy on my soul. End transmission. Time, 23:30. System status, standby mode. Thank you to my superfans, Sweet Black Swan, Tacy, and Brooklyn. I really appreciate you guys supporting my channel, and I look forward to making more content for everyone.